Butterfly control panel, non-touchscreen. Okay, drive mode. After you load a design, you want to activate drive mode, and this symbol here shows whether you're in drive mode or not. So this button here goes into drive mode, which is confirm, and we hit enter, and then our design appears, and now we can hit the start and stop buttons below the control panel. But when you're in drive mode, you can't really change many parameters. So to leave drive mode, you press this button over here and press enter, and you're out of drive mode and it's red again. And to go back into drive mode, press over here. It says confirm, enter. Our design should show, and there you go. That's drive mode. When you're in drive mode or confirm mode, the machine is now active and ready to sew, and pressing the buttons will make it sew. And when you're out of drive mode, then you are allowed to change most of the parameters. So if there are other parameters in some of the submenus and you cannot change them, you probably have to leave drive mode first. And red is out of drive mode and green is in. And that's drive mode. Okay, what is this? Float mode. When you're in drive mode, you can change the mode between sewing or floating or just traversing very fast through your pattern. That way, if you need to not start at the beginning but need to start in the middle somewhere, you can put this on. That's float mode, and if you press the start button, the machine will pretend to sew, but it's not really spinning the main shaft. It's not sewing, and it will just go forward, and that way you can go forward in case you have a damaged design or something. You press the start button, it will go forward slowly, and when you're where you need to be, then you hit stop. Or I can press the stop button, and then we'll go backwards all the way to the beginning. That's in float mode, and it can give you an idea what the sew out's gonna be for real. So let's go all the way back. Okay, then stops there, and that's this button. So green will make it actually sew. When you're in drive mode and you hit the start button and it's green over here, it's gonna actually sew and do your pattern. When it's in yellow, it's just gonna traverse slowly forward and back, but show you kind of where every stitch is gonna happen. And that's a good test. When it's in red, it won't really move. It will go really fast through the pattern, and then when you press green, it will go forward to the pattern really fast. That way you can jump to where you want to be faster, but it's not going to move the thing until you hit stop where you want to be. So let's press green, and it's just going to the pattern really fast. Let's hit stop, and now it's stopped here. And that's a quicker way to traverse through the pattern. And then you could probably go to float mode, which is in yellow here, to go exactly where you want in the pattern. Let's go back to here and press red for the stop button, and it's going backwards to the pattern really quickly. And there we go, we're back at the beginning. And you would probably only use this. You probably use the yellow, the float mode, to actually have an idea where it's going to sew. And you want red or the fast travel to actually jump somewhere quicker than yellow can. And green is when you actually want to sew. So when you're in drive mode, you want this to be green if you want to actually sew. And that is sew mode and float and just a fast traverse version of float. And back to green. Okay, rotation. Here you can rotate the design in 90-degree increments, or rotate it and mirror it. So if you press this button here, oh, I can't do anything because I'm in drive mode. Let me leave that. I press it here, enter. Okay, because you can't change parameters while you're in drive mode. Drive mode is active. When that drive mode's active, you're ready to sew, and you should leave that if you need to change any parameters. Okay, so we left drive mode. We want to rotate the design, and if you press the button here, you can see that this P will start rotating. If you used embroidery machines, you're used to this P pattern, and when you press it a few times, you'll notice it will not only rotate but invert. And so here, this is back to normal, a regular P. Most people will want to spin it around this way for caps. And the other ones are not too popular, and these are not popular either. But if you just press this and go to the P, then you will be sewing right side up. You press P a couple of times to here, then you are all ready for caps. Now it's proper orientation. Just hit it a couple of times, and now we're back to the regular P. You can also change this in parameters, but this is a much quicker way. And again, when you're in drive mode, it won't let you do much of anything for changing parameters. So this is no longer can rotate. You'll probably have to leave drive mode here. And let's actually do this. There we go. And hit our drive mode or confirm mode. As you see here, it's now upside down. Yes, it's upside down and ready for caps. And let's bring it right side up again. There we go, it's P. That's right side up. Go back in drive mode to see our pattern. There, back to original. And that is rotation mode. And again, you have to release. You cannot be in a drive or confirm mode. This has to be red before you can do any rotation. And that's rotation mode. Where was I? Oh, okay. Setting up color change. This button here will let you set the colors on your design. And it will let you send a number of colors. Your pattern doesn't have this many colors. It lets you set many colors ahead even though your pattern's not that large. So let's get out of here by pressing the escape menu. And here, again, is set the colors. The first option is to set a repeating color, and the second one is just edit the colors and don't do repeat. Repeats like if you only do 2 of them, and then he will repeat that pattern over and over again. Like so. That's if you have, but most people will probably want to use modify, but it doesn't really matter as long as you fill out every color. Here. 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, you see this pattern repeats 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But it doesn't really matter. Just fill it out to the number of colors you have in either input or modify. And again, modify lets you change the colors without repeating. Anyways, in either mode, you'll see that we have labels here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You use the arrow keys here to move around and change your colors. And let's to change the color, you press the number here of the needle that you want. So, and that's pretty simple. And if you need larger than 10, you hit the 10 plus here. 10, 0 is 10. That's hard to see. 10, 1 gives you 11. 10, 2 gives you the 12th needle, and so on. And again, this is color 1, color 2, color 3, color 4, etc. Of course, you can do all of them the same color, or use the arrow keys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then enter when you're done. And again, the main difference between these two is that if all the remaining colors on that one will just repeat your pattern. And down here, there will be no repeat afterwards. So again, on the first one, if I just put one color and hit enter, it's probably going to change every color into that one color. But again, if you know how many colors your pattern has, you can just fill it all out and that doesn't really matter. Like so. And again, if your pattern only has a couple of colors, you don't have to care about any of that. And that's how you do, that's how you set up color change. And again, it's this button here. And then either one of these is acceptable. Here. And you can just keep on pressing the colors you want. It will increment. Press enter when you're done. It is pretty easy. Okay, now related to that is the automatic color change. So you notice it's green here. Green, green, green. That usually means you're all set to go, and it will sew properly. If I change, oh, wrong one. If I change this, this will change between a fully automatic color change mode, a semi-automatic color change mode, and a full manual mode. So most people will want fully automatic. That means it will move to the color you want, that you programmed. Let me go back to this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. When you're in the fully automatic color change, this shows what color you're on, and this is the pattern. This is what colors you're going to change to. When you're on fully automatic color change mode, the machine will sew from beginning to end and automatically color change and automatically start at each color change all the way to the end. Most people want fully automatic mode. Semi-automatic mode is when you really need the machine to stop after each color in case you need to like add foam or do something to the pattern in between colors, or maybe clean it up or something. So semi-automatic will make the color changes for you, but it will stop after each color and wait there until you press the green start button again. And most people probably don't want that. They want fully automatic. And full manual is more for experimentation or testing. Basically, it won't change colors and it will stop at each color change. So if you want to use manual mode, you'll probably want to use the buttons here, and this will change the head live to I'm pressing it and my head is moving back and forth. So when you're on manual mode, it's just going to stop at each color change, and then you have to press start to make it so again. So if you keep on pressing start, it will just do the same color over and over again. When you're in this mode, usually you'll want to press whatever color that you want before going on to the next color. You probably want to do a trim as well. Anyhow, most people probably will not want manual mode either. Again, a green here is a fully automatic mode. Most customers will want that. And again, for normal operation, you want the green mode for drive mode, ready to sew, the fully automatic color change here, and actually sewing and not floating or any other behavior. Green, 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 rotation here, and you're good to go. And again, color change mode between fully automatic, which is it sews front to back without stop. Semi-automatic, which it stops at every color in case you want to cut it manually or fiddle with it after each color, or add a foam piece or something in case you're doing puffy foam. And then fully manual, and that just lets you experiment around with colors or randomly change it. Most people will not use that. And this one next here let you change the colors, and this shows you kind of what the colors are going on now, what will go on. And when I press the button, there's a low number here which says what needle you're currently on. But yeah, that's how you can change all the colors in your design. And again, when you change this, it doesn't really much matter which one you use. Just fill out every pattern you've got. Looks like if I keep on going. If you keep on going, there is a lot of colors here. yeah, there's hundreds of colors. Most of your patterns are only going to be 5 colors or less, or maybe 10 colors. So you probably don't have to worry about all of these colors down here. Just set your colors here, whatever you want. And again, when you're in the top one, it will repeat in case you want something easy repeating, usually for test patterns only. It doesn't really matter. Just go into it, change whatever colors you want, hit enter, escape out of it, and you're good to go for your colors. This button here, let's do modify instead. And again, when you need a large number, like 10, it's 10 plus 0, or 10 plus 2 for 12, 10 plus 1 for 11, 10 plus 0 for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And enter when you're done. Escape out of this menu, and there you go. And that is color change. Okay, thread trim. If you need to manually cut the trim, you use the scissors button here. And it'll give you 2 options. The first one will spin the main shaft and cut the thread underneath, and then grab the thread and pull it back. The bottom option just cuts it on the bottom, and it doesn't spin the main shaft, it doesn't grab it or anything. Most people will want the top one. So when you need to do a thread trim, you probably want the thread trim when you're doing manual or when you're testing or something like that. Again, let's hit that now, and let's hit enter there. And I can see the machine spinning and cutting the thread and using the grabber to pull it back. That's just a manual mode for thread trim, and you don't really need that under normal circumstances. When you're in fully automatic mode, it will be trimming automatically after each color change. You just want to use the scissors mode when you need to fire the trimmers for some reason. And that's manual thread trimming. Okay, what's in here? Trace. Okay, trace design. Inside the home button is a couple of home operations, and at the bottom it says move the frame along the boundary. And if you do this, and it asks me to confirm, let's press enter again, it's actually moving the hoop in a square pattern around your pattern. That way you can adjust it and aim and whatnot. So you'll aim a little bit. You can hit this button here. You'll notice it's a fast movement or slow movement. I'm pressing this. I can see the pattern move really slowly. So you'll move this home and then do that for trace. You'll see the trace again. That's pretty important to make sure you don't hit the hoop. And on this panel, we set up all of these numbers up here to all be trace, just as a convenience, and because there's no real other good options for these buttons. So you'll notice it says confirm move along border. All of these, F2, F3, F1, all of them say the same thing. We put trace over there as a convenience, but the original position for trace is down here. Use the arrow keys to move there. Hit enter again, and it's tracing. And that's how you do trace on this control panel. Escape to leave. Okay. Not interesting. What else? Okay. Return the shaft to 100 degrees. Most embroidery machines need to have the shaft at a hold position or 100 degrees before it can do anything, especially color change. So when the machine is at rest, that shaft is usually at 100 degrees. If after travel or after some event it's not exactly at 100 degrees, the machine will complain. So if you press this button here, this dot here, you can see move the main motor to 100 degrees. If I press that, press enter here, it just spins the main shaft and brings it back to the home position or 100 degrees. This is pretty important for you if you are a technician, but if for some reason your main motor is not 100 degrees and it's complaining, then press the dot here, main motor 100 degrees, press enter, and there we go. And it looks like in here there's a way to travel some amount of stitches in the future. And I guess that's an interesting way to jump around, but we're not going to really do that. Let's go back to 0. Okay, and that is the origin button, which is this period here. I suppose I should do general button. I should explain every button. Butterfly control panel. Butterfly control panel, non-touchscreen. Summary of all the buttons. So this is the control panel for this machine. There are buttons down here. Let me explain all of them. This one is the design button. This is to load designs or change your current design and other related functions. Here is machine parameters. Here is, let's see, that's float mode or sew mode. So we go sew, actually sew. Float, which is move about the pattern and without sewing. Oh my god, that fly. Let's start over. Testing, still working? Yes. Butterfly control panel, non-touchscreen. Summary. Okay, this is the control panel for this machine. Let me explain all the buttons. This button is a memory button or the load file button. It lets you change your load designs from the USB stick, which is on the side here. It also lets you change between the designs already loaded into memory. This button is parameters and options for the machine. This button here is a float mode, and you can see it goes from green, which is sewing, and yellow, which is floating, which is moves about the pattern, moves the XY pantograph without sewing, so you can kind of see where what it's going to do. And this lets you traverse through the pattern really fast without. And then when you have to use the green and red buttons with these. And this will not move the pantograph until you get to the point. It will just show where it's going, and then you press stop and it'll stop there, and then it'll move the thing. Most people will want it here and does actual sewing. This one here is automatic color change or manual color change, and it will change this indicator here. Green here is fully automatic color change. This is semi-automatic color change, or you have to hit start after each color is done. And this is fully manual. It will not change needles automatically. I don't think it will do thread cuts. It will use it if you want, but most people will want fully automatic and not the other two. This one here lets you program the colors, and either one of these do a decent job of doing it. You probably will want modify, just so there's no behaviors, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 through 8, and then it goes down and down hundreds. Most of your patterns only have a couple of colors, so you'll just fill it out, to whatever you need. Like so, press enter, press escape to get out of there, and then that will change your colors. And that was this one, color change. Here's rotation, and this will rotate, and usually you'll want to rotate to do caps and such. Caps definitely want it this way and not that way if you put the cap frame on. Now, nothing's happening because we are in drive mode. Drive mode's over here. Most embroidery machines do not let you change parameters unless you're out of drive mode, and the machine does nothing when you press the start button unless you are in drive mode. So when we're in drive mode, the machine's ready to sew and you just press the start button, but you can't change parameters. When you're out of drive mode, this button, enter, then we can change parameters. So this button is rotation, and there's 8 options. This P is normal, this P is good for caps, and the rest are it's just if you need. And there we go. And that is rotation. This is manual trim. If you need to do if you need to cut the thread, and then we press enter, and it spins the main shaft, it cuts the thread, it does the grabber tip, it's just manual trim. The bottom one is not too popular, that just cuts it without moving the main shaft. And let's get out of that. You can also leave menus by pressing the same exact menu, I think, yeah. Oh, that's not the menu. Anyhow, trace is in here in the home menu. So if we go down to 5, arrow keys, and we press enter, confirm move along border of design, we'll trace it out. And then the pantograph is moving in a square around where it's going to sew. And usually you will move around and trace and just try to line everything up perfect before you start sewing. Okay, and those are these buttons. This goes to the stop point. Not too many customers will use that. Over here, this is escape. This just brings you out of whatever menu you're in. We're in that menu, we're in that menu, it just brings you back to the main screen. This is drive mode or confirm mode. Again, this is the indicator for it. We go into drive mode, the machine can sew when you press the green button. But you can't change any parameters, you can't change your current design. And when you leave or release out of drive mode, that will show you in red, and now all your options are now available to be changed. Okay, over here is the enter key, and again there'll just be, anytime you see an X or the check mark, it probably wants you to use the enter key or escape for yes or no. So you'll be using this button a lot. Okay, moving up, this dot here returns the main shaft to origin, main motor back to 100 degrees. You'll be using that a lot if you move the machine around, or if it's knocked off of 100 degrees for some reason, or if a technician is working on it. Technicians will really be using that a lot. Moving on. Over here these are speed up and speed down. They will set the maximum speed that it'll sew at. The machine will not sew at, well, the machine will try to sew at that speed. So if it has to move very large stitches, it can't hit that speed, but if there's a lot of tiny stitches, it will hit that easily. And then you just make the machine go faster and slower, do that to your taste or to the stability of your machine. Arrow keys, when you press this, the pantograph is moving around, and here you see 2 arrows. Here, if I press this button, it goes from 1 to 2. When it's on 1 arrow, the pantograph moves extremely slowly, so you can do fine aim of where you're going to sew your pattern. And when you do it fast, well, the pantograph moves fast. Now, when you're in a menu, these no longer move the pantograph, but it moves along the menu. So you just move along the menu, hit enter to what you want, or hit escape to cancel. When you're in this screen, then this starts moving the pantograph again. And generally you would move around until the origin of your pattern, until your pattern is going to sew in the place you want it to, and then you'll leave it alone. And that's the arrow keys here. The number pad here, when you're on the screen, will move the head left and right to change colors. So if I press here, the head will move to needle number 1, and it will sew on. Well, it won't sew on needle number 1 unless you are in a fully manual mode. When you're in an automatic mode, you can move around, but it's going to move it back according to whatever color you're on. So if you're in manual mode, you'll use this to change the needle around, or if you're a technician working on the screen, you'll be working on the machine, you'll be using these buttons a lot too. Sometimes people really find it useful to move the needle number 1 before you do a trace function, because it's pretty easy to see where the center of the pattern is when you're on needle number 1. But anyways, if you need to go to a larger needle, because it only goes 1 through 9 and there's a 0 here, if you need to go to needle 10, there is more than 10 needles, you would press this 10 plus here, 10 plus 0, and that moved me to needle number 10. 10 plus 11, that moved 11, 12, and so on. Then I just press 1 without it, and we go back to needle number 1. And what else? Up here are custom keys. They don't really have a lot of useful options to choose from, but we did choose trace for all of them. So if you get this panel from us, we probably changed it to trace. It says move along border of design, yes or no, hit enter, and it's doing a trace now. We just did that for convenience, and because our options for custom is a little limited. And that's the gist of the main screen of the control panel. And of course here I can't go all the way, is where a USB stick or your Wi-Fi stick would be placed for loading designs into the control panel. And that is a summary of the buttons. Now, looking at the screen, can I zoom up some? There we go. Okay, up here shows your current needle. It said there's a needle and it says a 1 there. That just shows the current needle. I press 2, the machine moved, we're on needle 2. It's back to 1, and that just lets you know what needle you're on. Here is your color change programming for the next few colors. In this case, it looks like we have needle number 3 for all of our colors. Let's change that around. Modify 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, enter, escape, and it says 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then whatever. So usually you only have a couple colors in your design. This will show you what they are and let you know if you're going to get the colors you think you will. And again, if you need high numbers, you would just use the +10 there. And that just, again, just shows you what colors you're going to sew on. Here is your maximum RPM. Again, these two buttons here, yeah, you can see them. Will change your RPM some. You can probably do that during the design. You'll want to choose an RPM that feels good, looks good, and sews good. If you go faster, sometimes there's a little bit of quality loss, or the machine gets louder. Choose an RPM that works for you. And this is a desired RPM. The machine doesn't actually go at that RPM unless he is physically able to move the hoop fast enough to it. So if you have really big, long stitches, he will not hit fast RPMs. And if you have tiny stitches, he will really spike up in speed. But yeah, just choose a good RPM for the stability of your machine. Make sure your machine is stable and heavy and the feet are down on the concrete or wherever, and then you can go higher without any vibration or noise. And if your machine is wobbly, you probably shouldn't, because you didn't stabilize its feet. You probably shouldn't go fast. And again, this sets the speed of the machine. Okay, here's just some stats on it. Design name, the current scale, 100% for X and Y. Rough size on X and Y from your origin point, and it's just not too important. Most people don't need that. I think I explained most of these. This, I believe, tells you you're at 100 degrees exactly. I think the scissor shows up there if he's a little bit off of his home. I believe this shows you what pattern you're on in memory. In memory, patterns are listed 1 through whatever. Not sure about that. This is repeat mode or no repeat mode, and you only care if you're in a repeat mode. What else? I guess that's it for the main thing. You can see a kind of estimate for time here, and you will see your percentage of your pattern, and that will go up. And let's see if I can't put it into float mode here. There we go. Let's press start. And yeah, you can see 1%, 2%, it's climbing up slow. Let me stop that. Let me go there because it's faster. There we go, back to 0 and back to sewing. Okay, and of course your pattern's here. You'll see it in black and white. It will fill out in color as it's done. It's just a visual way to show you where you are. And I suppose this is the I suppose that's a summary of the control panel. At least it's a quick summary. And what's more to show? Yeah, I'm tired. I'm sorry. Okay, let's go deeper into the control panel for our own documentation. Okay, or not. Testing, still recording? Yes, sir. Let's back off a bit. Loading a design. If you want to load design from the USB stick, you would use this button here. And there would be an option, disk design into memory. Let's use the arrow keys to go down there and hit enter. Let's zoom up some. Okay, and on the stick is only one pattern. It's G005. Let's use the arrow keys to go on it. It's our favorite pattern, Tiger. And let's hit enter. And it's going to put on design number 3. And just whatever. Hit enter again. And it's asking some options for everything. Just keep hitting enter. And there we go. I think we loaded it into design now. Let's leave the screen and leave the screen again. Now we loaded it into memory, and now let's choose the design. So the same button up here, embroidery design. And we cannot change designs while we're in drive mode or confirm mode. So this screen here says we're in drive mode. We need to cancel that with this button here. Hit enter to release. Now it's red. We can go back and switch designs. There we go. Tiger's already loaded. Before we loaded this one in 3. Let's hit enter. It's asking us for direction and fine rotation. Scale 100% X, 100% Y. Sometimes you want to nudge that up and down a little bit. You can move a little bit with that, but if you move too far, your design becomes unreliable. But it can help you fit in tight spaces if you only need to go down a couple percent, like 95% or something, or even 90. And then repeat options, which we're not going to use. This looks fine. Just get out of there. And we should be switched now, are we? Let's do this. No, we're still in the old design. Let's go back here. Choose tiger. Enter. Yeah, I just press enter again. And okay, let's go into drive mode, see our design. Okay, there we go. There's tiger and all ready to go. We're in drive mode. From here, you just make sure your colors are set. Everything's green, that's ready to sew. We're not on caps, so that rotation's fine. If you did want to rotate it, leave there, leave drive mode. Let's do some rotation. Let's enter back into drive mode with this button. And there we go, ready to caps, ready to sew. And that's how you load a design from the USB stick and then choose it. So let's do that again. Let's leave drive mode because we can't really change patterns when we're in drive mode. Hit that, release. This button over here is loading from the USB stick, disk design into memory. We can see what's on the USB stick here. We'll move it with the arrow keys, highlight it, press enter, 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 enter. There we go, it's into memory. Let's leave this with escape. And let's go up there to embroidery design. This first one here, which again, we're in here. The first one here lets you switch designs. The third one here lets you load it from the USB stick. So we're up here at the top, hit enter. That shows all the designs in memory. We've now loaded tiger a couple of times. Highlight it, press enter again, and there we go. And if we want to, we can change rotation here. That's usually all you want. And then go into drive mode to see it. And there you go. And if you need to change colors, you would of course use the color change button here. Where are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just whatever. Escape. And there you go. That's how you load it into design from the USB stick and then choose it on the machine. Now, if you want to erase designs, if you have to clean up, you would choose design delete, and that will let you delete it one at a time. If you want to wipe everything kind of back to factory, then you would choose clear designs. We are not going to do that here. Let's go to design delete. There. We have too many tigers here. Let's highlight, enter, delete it. Sure. Let's delete this one. Sure. And this one I believe is selected. Yes, you can't delete that. It's currently chosen. And that's how you would delete them one at a time. Now, if you go to clear designs here, it won't let me, probably because we are in drive mode and that one is selected. So again, if you have menus that don't really work, you should probably leave drive mode or release, and then you can do a lot more. And again, when you're released, then you can switch between patterns. You can load from the USB stick anytime you want, but you can't really change patterns unless you're released. And again, drive mode or confirm, this button, enter your pattern, everything's green, you're ready to sew. And if you want to change any parameters, you release there. Now you can change parameters. Now you can go here and change your design. Let's go back to this thing. Enter, enter, and drive mode. And there you go. That's how you switch a design. So one more time. To load the design, let's go into here, disk design into memory. That will read the USB stick, which is over here. Let me pull it out to show you. Here we go. And if it's wireless stick, you just leave it in. We go into here, disk design the memory, enter. The stick's flashing, highlight what you want. There's only one file on here. Enter, enter. Go through all those options. There we go. But we still have to load the design, which to switch over to our new design, which is up here. We cannot do that when we're in a sewing mode or drive mode. Hit here for release. There we go. Back to memory, embroidery design. Let's change to our current one, press enter. And let's leave all these options, enter again. Now back into drive mode. And again, there you go. Loading the design from the USB stick and switching designs. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing. Okay. Okay. Let's leave this. Okay, let's go through the parameters of the machine. When you press this button here, you can change parameters. Let's back up. Changing parameters of your design. If you need to change some advanced parameters of the design, like changing its scale a little bit or maybe a fine rotation, first leave drive mode. It's green here. You need to turn that off. Let's release. There we go. And over here is options and parameters, the hand button. Up here it says magnify, rotate, repeat. Let's go into there. I pressed enter, and again you move through the menus with arrow keys. You press enter to go into it. Here are parameters for your design. Directions up here. We don't really need that too much because we have a handy button here. A fine rotation here, 0 to 89. That's very uncommon. You generally use the quick rotations up here. We have X and Y scale, which is at 100%. You can scale the design up or down a little bit. Down probably better than up. If you go down to 95% or 90% for both, it can still probably sew reliable enough, but your digitizer probably doesn't recommend it. If you need to scale your pattern a lot more than 10%, you probably want to have your digitizer do it, not the machine. If you need to repeat, there are options here for a repeat, doing X first or whatever, or Y first. Those are the options. The rest of them are repeat settings. Anyhow, if we wanted to change this, and we'd highlight it, press enter, we type it in here, made X 90%, made Y 90%. There we go. Then we quit out, and we can see here our scale of our pattern is now 90% on X and Y. And again, you cannot change any parameters or even the quick one if you are in a drive mode. And we are out of a drive mode, so we are allowed to change it. So let's change it back. That first one. Let's change it back to 100%. 100%, enter, 100. And there. We're not using any of the repeat options. Escape out. And there we go, we're back at 100%. And that would be some advanced parameters for your design. Changing language. If you go here to the hand button and press it, you'll notice down here is an option to change your language. Let's move it with the arrow keys. Press the enter key. And then you can press up and down to move among these language options. Let's go to Espanol. There. And language is no longer English here. And if we want to move back, you'll notice this changed a little bit. They stretched everything out. In case you see this and you need to go to the proper menu, these will page between different, but if the menu's longer or shorter, you see here it says machine settings 1 of 4, and I can press this 4 times to go through all options anyhow. Let's go down here, press enter, let's go back to English. There we go. And again, language is in here, and you notice our menu's back to our normal size. And that's how you do it, how you change languages. And those are the various options. We'll just leave it at English. To show again, switch to Spanish. There. And we have some Spanish. And going back, enter, up and down, enter.